Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our Institution of Global Professionals free webinar. Thank you all for joining with us in this lovely morning. My dear lovely participants, today I'm your host in this event, and I'm very honored to have and very happy to have here with all of you. Myself, Nasrunisha, and I'm from Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professionals free webinar. Thank you for joining us today in this beautiful moment. My humble request to all of you, please share this webinar in your timeline with your friends, with your family person. You can also mention and tag them in our comment section. Every day we have new participants who join us. So let me tell little about IGP. So Institution of Global Professionals serves students and community resource, providing holistic social work and education for create a proficient generation. IGP also leading on online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. We make it get able to use for every knowledge seeker to originate personality, more ambitious, make confident to face any circumstances, and develop own skills. We are entrusted with international education of Global Professional is an educational institution, provides social work, and provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We organize webinar, training, offline, online courses by best and trained speakers, coaches from all over the world to create best learning platform for all of you. Our mission is empower people and enhance. We have already completed our webinar 514. Today I'm presenting webinar number 515. My dear lovely audience, before inviting our speaker, please share this. Please share this event with your family, with your friends, and your family person. Let them people know to see this lovely and informative program with us and together from all over the world. So let's welcome our speaker from Philippines. Welcome, Sir Mark.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm absolutely good.
It's nice to see you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, can you start your presentation?
All right, ma'am. Did you see my presentation? Did I am audible, everyone?
Yes, sir. You are
Okay,
audible.
so my topic is all about the 21st century teaching best practices. I am Dr. Mark Anthony R. Kasem from the Philippines. Okay, so this morning we will discuss about 21st century teaching best practices. So before I start, good morning to all of our listeners, educators, viewers from the Republic of the Philippines, and of course, good afternoon also to the listeners from Bangladesh, okay, and all around the world. So the topic that IGP gave to me is the 21st century teaching best practices. So before I start my presentation, of course, everyone everyone here are considered to be a 21st century educator. Okay, so for my background in terms of these practices, I am a Dean of Studies at the Philippine Women's University here at the Republic of the Philippines. I also have my certification in the professional educations. I am a graduate of Masters in Business Administration, an academic requirements in Masters in Education, major in Educational Leadership, and of course, a Doctor of Business Administration. So thank you everyone for welcoming me for this webinar. So I will now proceed. So we are dealing for the 21st century teaching best practices. Today, we will deal more or listen more. We are doing these practices, but we need to elaborate more. We need to discuss something about it. This is only we are doing it actually, the 21st century teaching best practices, but we need to recap and we need to re-engine our knowledge. So here, we have the individual pair and group task project and activities, the presentation, the data collection method. We will also deal with reading, research, and reference, graphic organizer, negotiating essential agreements, mentoring of other learners, assessment of learning, technology, reporting and fun, be able to teach to all learners, be able to foster student relationship, be forward thinking, be able to embrace change, experiential learning, game-based learning, ownership and engagement, citizenship, leadership, and personal responsibility, community partnership, the teachable moment. Of course, we will also discuss the different approach and methods in terms of learning. What is the latest learning trend in our society right now? Then we will also deal with taking risks and of course the modeling model. So let us start. So those are the coverage of my session learning for this morning or afternoon. The 21st century has seen much advancement in many fields, especially in the education sector. It's undergoing changes by leaps and, of course, bounds. The teachers, facilitators, and educators are the one who accompanying students on a journey of exploration and reflection. Of course, we are the educator, we are the facilitator who are accompanying our students to explore in so many things, to reflect all of the learnings that we have learned or grasped in our classroom. Active learning is very much encouraged. It is indeed of the R, and it also takes care of many aspects wherein students are stretched and challenged to overreach themselves. So we are aware of that. We want an active participation in all of the engagement, especially in classroom discussion, in performance tasks, in other activities, in extracurricular activities. We want a holistic formation in terms of our students. The term 21st century skills, we are aware of that, the 21st century skills that put into context, especially the value of communication, the collaboration, etc. Refer to the widespread set of knowledge, skills, work, habit, and character traits that are believed by the educators, school reformers, college professor, etc. To be critically important to the success of today's world, particularly in collegiate program and contemporary careers and workplace. So we are aware of that, especially on the college level, professor, instructor. So we are more on the active participation. We are more on the active learning. We also have what we call teacher facilitator. The faculty are set as only a facilitator inside the classroom. And another thing that we need to consider is what we call the outcomes based education. So we are teaching our students to adapt with the changes in terms of the outcomes based education, wherein it is more on performance tasks, it is more on reporting, presentation. So sooner or later, we will discuss one by one what are the best teaching practices. Okay. So number one, as I mentioned a while ago, for the best teaching practices, We have the individual, pair, and group task, project, and activities. As an educator or facilitator, we are doing this. So we are tasked our student to write a story or composing a poem. That is for the individual task. You want to see them, how they're visualized, how their imaginary grows wide. Okay. Of course, we will also check their grammar, then other references, how they're going to express themselves in writing a story or composing a poem. So we want to create a imaginary mind for them. Another thing, it is not only the individual tasks they're going to do. Of course, they will do an individual in terms of singing and dancing. And of course, we can also assign individual presentation or individual reporting. So, but basically, it is just only a gauge how to see the knowledge, how a certain students learn from, or how a certain students apply the things that they learn inside the classroom. So they're only to put into context. So that is individual. So we are going to train our students to uh, become independent, not independent all the time. That is why we need to have an actual task in terms of individual performances. So another is a pair work. When we see pair work, of course, it's by two, okay? When it pair, just have only a pair, so it is not only two. So we will task our students to conduct an interview by two. On another is to create a conversation or dialogue. So by two, so pair work. Or sometimes we will ask them by twos to report or to conduct a research. So they will now collaborate. So there is an exchange learning. There is a collaboration between two minds. So we are aware that two heads are better than one. So we are after and we are need to see the goodness of being pair. So we will see their performance that will be really good for them. Okay, that everybody will be benefited from that. So they will, in the same building, a camaraderie and unity among them. So we're just only train them to become very social able. Okay, we encourage them to become social able. We are now starting to boost their confidence so that we need to them to put them into context into peer. So of course, aside from that, it is on the group work. So in the group work, writing a script for our PowerPoint presentation or a one-act drama. So we are doing that. So most of the here in the Philippines, our application when the students on the senior high school, we are usually encourage group work to see how they're going to mingle with one another. It's also to train them to become responsible. So because a certain leader will assign a different tasks from them to do. For example, in the research project, in the research work, in the preparation for drama, short skit, role playing, etc. So it is very important. Number one thing that we need to do as a teacher, as an educator, we need to put into context how are we going to manage our classroom in terms of tasks, individual, pair, group, and of course, in a certain group. And this will be also by means of guided learning. So we are doing this, but of course with your guidance. Okay, next slide. For a while. Okay, the next one is about the presentation. Okay, we have a different a lot of presentation. It depends upon on the level. It depends upon on the knowledge. Depends upon on the accomplishment. Of course, in the presentation, we can ask our students to read the poem, or writing, speaking, and listening skills are already involved. So of course, when you are on the collegiate level, for example, you are under or you're teaching hospitality and tourism, you will ask the students, especially when they're taking up a micro perspective or macro perspective or principles of tourism 1 and principles of tourism 2, you ask them to do a tourism promotion. You ask them to present for a tourism promotion, a lot of different presentations. Life skills are also ingrained as the learners great insight on how to use the information communication technology. This is now very viable. The technology, you need to use the technology, of course, right now during the pandemic. So we are not going to tour around, but of course, a virtual tour guiding is being developed. A virtual field trip is being developed. So that is one of the presentation, that is one of the output of a good ICT management. How to drop the content for the hard copies, which has to be formatted well as they be printed and photocopied. Of course, on the presentation, we are teaching our students not only how to present, but of course, how to form a good PowerPoint presentation. Aside from the PowerPoint presentation, how to create a good handouts, how to create a audio visual presentation. So we are teaching that. That is part of the information communication technology subject. We need to develop, especially the educator. So we need to develop the young educator, the future educator for this one. So we need to see to it that they are knowledgeable on a certain fields of presentation. Okay. So this is what as we consider it as part of the task, as part of the performance task of our students. So it is not only for the educator, but we need also, for example, we are developing them to become a marketing a management practitioner, to become an executive of certain company soon. So we need to teach them how to create a presentation. It is not only for the education side, but of course for all of the courses. Okay. Next is data collection method. Of course, every one of us on the 21st century, not only the educator but also the students are familiar for the data collection method. So we are all familiar with the FARCOM research. Okay. These are very important tools and authenticity. This tool use questionnaire and survey to gauge the mood of the people. And of course, we are aware how to create a questionnaire. So we can be also a aside from the questionnaire, we can also gather a data by means of an interviewed, an structured interviewed, or unstructured interviewed. So we are aware of that. So we also know how to implement, how to administer the questionnaire so that everybody must aware of it, must everybody must be put into effort to participate in this data gathering method. Some of the efficient tools that learners and educators use is a Google form. Yes, we are aware of how to use the Google form. So because of the 21st century and because of the pandemic before, so all of the things when we are want to say something, when we to God want to gather want to gather answer to our question to our researcher, we are using a Google form. Even in the examination, we are using the Google form other activities. So Google form is very viable in this century. So we are now put into changes. Before we are just only on the band paper going to print and administer, but now we can reach a large of network because of the Google form. Another form, we can also use the LinkedIn, okay, as another method on how to collect data. Another that we need to put into practice as our strategies is reading, research, and of course, reference. The importance of reading is undeniable. Of course, we educator, we must read and read and read so that we can impart to our students a lot of knowledge. Okay? Experience is the best teacher. If we cannot read, how are we going to convince our students to read and share the learnings that they have? So of course, if you want to to become a good traveler, so you need read first, then apply, then share it to the blog or in any means or in any tool so that everybody can spread and uh, read a lot about the way that you will impart your experiences. Always remember, experience is the best teacher. I cannot say this one if I may put into practice this context. So be example to our student. Research and reference technique are to be, of course, applied without a plagiarism will be quite the norm. So when we are doing our research, of course, be sure that we know how to have the references that by means of the APA. We also know how to do the annotated bibliography. That is part of it. Okay? So be sure that you will not plagiarize. You will have your own words. You have your own thinking, how you're going to relate your experiences and how to share that. Because everybody can read about the topic that you're being shared. Another thing that we need to possess is to become a graphic organizer. So the mind mapping, the Venn diagram, the burger paragraph, slow writing paragraph are some of the scaffolding techniques that can be used to make studying simpler and more engaging for the learner. So now we are the first 21st century. So we're not only after to put into the words or phrases, we need to after for organize our thoughts by having use the mind mapping. So to deliver it easily for them, we can also use a different graphic design that is very appropriate with your presentation. So make it simpler for the students. So our students are most likely want more on watching, okay? Watching at the same time. So when you see certain picture, they can easily interpret what is really going on. So they're after that. So we need to form our lecture, our discussion into paragraph, slow writing paragraph. So they easily need to interpret this one. So do not give a hard time for our student to understand your topic. So make it simpler, make it concise, briefly, and very directly, of course. So another thing is negotiating essential agreements. The classroom becomes completely organized when rules and agreements are implemented between the facilitator and learners. This is the first thing that we need to do when we are having our first day of class. We need to state our conditions, our rules and regulations, our agreements, so that everybody must come into a well-disciplined, okay? A well-disciplined, they are be punctual, they may be neat in appearance, and of course, that to bully. So you teach them a good manners and right conduct. That because attitude, of course, is very important. You have an enough intelligent quotient. Intelligent quotient is a way for you to get a certain job of the students that you want to have sooner or later. But emotional quotient is the quotient that will help them to stay longer for the job. So it's still nowadays in the negotiating essential agreement, it's very appropriate for them to teach the good manners and the right conduct. So attitude merits all the time. Okay, you are intelligent enough. Our students are intelligent enough, but they don't have any knowledge. They are not on hold good values. Okay, they are not respecting others. Of course, they have a good personality, but not values all the time. But also encourage our students that values merits all the time. Okay, they learn, but of course, they need to apply their values. Mentoring of other learners. So that is not exactly, it is also another practices that we need to inculcate in the minds of our students. Each group of students will be a healthy mix of different levels of students and those who are the best in the different subjects in this manner. All subjects can be revised by the learners themselves. The teacher or facilitator are the one who will group the classroom and the students and will be the one to guide and encourage the learner. That is why it is very much encouraging to have a groupings so that other classmates they can also mentor their classmate if they're particular weak in that subject. For example, in mathematics, I am good in mathematics, so I am the leader. Some of my groupmates are not good in mathematics, so I can apply peer teaching. I can use our quality time to teach them, to develop them, to enhance them. So aside from that, we are aware nobody can duplicate our hand stroke. Nobody can duplicate the way our thinking in terms of mathematics. No one can duplicate the way we think, the way we smile, the way we behave, because we are unique individual. We are encouraging mentoring of other learners. So everybody has a strongest subject, everybody has a poor knowledge in terms of the subject, but helping them to uplift their morale, of course, it is much very willing and appreciative. So every day is a process of learning and development. So no one will left behind in terms of education. If everybody has a common denominator in the way that we think, we educator can impart our students our noble profession, our noble passion, encourage them that duplicate us. If they're going to duplicate us, despite that they are not teacher yet, so we will uplift and of course we will celebrate. We will celebrate this word with a good knowledge and impact. Okay. So, a good impact of mentoring. It is not about mentoring about the subject. It is also mentoring about the experiences. We can share our experiences, our philosophy, our, of course, not only our political views and of course our religion views. So, religion and political, of course, are undebatable topics. So you must focus more on the knowledge about life. You can also talk about environmental friendly, economic resources, economical, and of course, etc. So technological and other development. Another thing is assessment for learning. So after the mentoring, after the presentation, after the individual work, now let's put into context how we're going to assess, how we're going to think that the students learn from it, learn from us, learn from your classmate. When thinking of topics for composition, they learn to unpack the question and deconstruct their demands. When drafting question for comprehension, they improve in their scheme reading and scanning of context for specific details, as well as home intensive reading techniques, skills of analysis and interpretation are input into that. So be sure that we will use appropriate tool how are we going to assess the learning of our students. So typically we are put into practice until today when we're going to start a new topic we are conducting the pre-test. Usually when we conduct a pre-test we are assumed we want only to gauge the knowledge of the student whether they are familiar, they have a knowledge or not at all. So we are using the true or false, yes or no. So that is the only method that we can administer, or sometimes multiple choice. So for the pre-test, once we're going to the post-test, we will now go to deeper. We will now have the discussion question, after the class discussion, an essay. Then we can also have the matching type. We can also have the case studies. Be sure it also depends on the level of our students. So this also it is also depends on the subject that you are teaching or how you are teaching. So we have different tools how we're going to assess the learning of the students. For example, in the physical education, after you teach a music, so we will have the activity. We will ask them to look for a similar music for example, meditation. So you play a music, so you put something put into practice how to meditate. Then they are the one going to meditate. They're one going to teach you how to meditate, or they're one going to facilitate the class how to meditate. So be sure that you teach them, then they were going to apply. So that is an appropriate assessment for learning. Not all of the students get failing score in assessment of learning are low knowledge. It is not only up to them how they digest the or show interest in the topic. So maybe they are weak or they are poor, have poor learning for that day, but the following day they are good. So there are a lot of reasons why our students failed because maybe they are not feeling well, they are divided into attention, the environment is not really good. So always come to think of it, always motivate our students to learn, to impart, to share to their classmates the way they think. So if you're going to encourage them, you're going to talk and talk and talk, so they will develop. The self-confidence will boost, their morale will always uplift. Okay? With one prominent exemption, 21st century teaching and learning best practices are largely the same even in the century numbers are inverted. Based on the hallmarks, they identified numerous experiences of the 21st century teaching and learning that can be used as touchstones in the educator's approach to teaching and learning. Some are, of course, always remember this one. Everybody will agree to me. That is part of the touchstone on the part of the educator. The technology, the reporting, and of course, learning is always fun. So let us discuss technology, reporting, and of course, fun. Always remember, encourage our students that, of course, learning is always fun. So it is not after for the age, but always learning is always fun. So first, technology. Technology is the second pencil of the 21st century. So we are aware of that. So this one webinar is very viable. It is a product of technology. We encourage our students to use a technology. So of course, we are not using Manila paper. We are not using overhead projector. We are mostly using on the television. We are more using on the YouTube. So we have a lot of things that to develop. So that is why a distance learning is also encouraged. Asynchronous and asynchronous is also a term. An online and offline, a virtual tour guiding, a virtual presentation, a webinar, and a lot. So all of us here in the world are familiar how to use the technology. So we are using our Android phone, our iPhone, our Samsung. So not only our phone, but of course the different equipment and facilities. We are aware of that. That is a product of technology. Now let us put into value, of course, in learning, let us adapt technology. So that is why the printed books are not also recommendable right now. There has a lot of e-books. We're in the one when we're going to type on the Google, we want to learn something about IGP. We can read a lot. We can watch also a lot of webinar, etc. So that is a product of technology. Service learning project will be embedded with a wide array of real-world technology-based application. We have a different apps. We have a different tool. So apps that we are repairing, for example, we have a MS Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, etc. So Messenger is also a thing. So we have a different applications. That is a product of technology that is really viable for our education. So now, more than ever, we need an educational paradigm shift away from learning how to use technology and towards using it. So remember, we are 21st century teacher. We need to adapt the technology. Do not give hard time to our students. As early as kindergarten, as toddler, kindly teach them technology little by little so that they're not left behind. Of course, we teachers, so despite that we are old, despite of our ages, differences of our system, we need into practice, of course, the technology. Okay? We need to follow the trend to our students. So we need to follow. We need to put into context everything. So yes, technology is very good, but do not harm, do not abuse. So that is precisely that I'm talking about. So the fake news is of course spread all the time. So I am encouraging everyone to be stand for the truth. We teacher are the collaborator, we are the facilitator, so we are the one going to implant goods in the mind of our students. All are true, not false, not trolls. Okay? So we need to become a leader of our society. We educator, we are the one going to mold the mind of our students. Yes, technology is good, but of course, be sure that we also teach our students ethics on how to use technology. Okay? Okay, another. Reporting. Students will report out to peers, school staff, and the larger community. So put into practice, okay, reporting. Reporting develop our speaking ability, okay, our confidence, okay. What they learned, they will impart or share what they learned at the end of the topic. So I learned something like that. How they address the problems or issues being concerned in the reporting, of course. So they need to state the problem at the same time, the alternative course of action or the solution from the problems or issues being discussed. Then their final products. Their final products will be the takeaways from that particular topic. So that is why they will also encourage their classmates to talk about what have they learned about the report, what there can be in part, any additional, okay, on based on the references. So in reporting, it is not only the reporter or the teachers going to talk. They need also to encourage the students to participate. Okay, they need also to ask what there will be inputs or their outputs for the topic or their experiences must be. Experience also is the best teacher. So we can deal about it because of our experiences. We can become a good educator because of our experiences. Lastly, is fun. As I mentioned a while ago, learning is really fun. Okay? So, encourage our students when they're coming to school to smile, smile, and smile. Then when they can sit down, they ask them to close their eye, inhale, exhale, and smile, and everything will be all right. Despite that the subject matter or the topic is very hard. So, of course, there's always fun. So, thing make our class enjoyable. So be sure that we are a happy teacher because when you are a happy teacher, it is a reflection that all of your students are happy and they get easily the subject. They can easily understand the subject. Students having fun within their framework of their school-based activities is an integral aspect of effective teaching and learning. And it's one of the overarching links that facilitates academic and civic success. Always encourage them to do their tasks. Always think of the best activity that is suited or fitted for them. Always think of them that they are the best. So despite that your subject, for example, is research, always says to them that research is always fun. Not, of course, the acronym of thesis. The acronym of thesis, so most of the students, especially at the collegiate level or at senior high school level here in the Philippines, they are thinking that thesis means true happiness ended since it is started. So try to divert the attention of our students to fun, despite that they will, of course, in research, they're thinking that true happiness ended since it is started because they're going to start from chapter 1 then until the chapter 5 and they will having a defense. So they're thinking it is part of their burden. It is part of their tragedy. It is part of their nightmare. But of course, encourage our students that in all of the aspect about life, teaching and learning is always fun. Okay, now let us talk about the other thing, the other way around. Be able to teach to all learners. Being a 21st century educator means having the ability to be able to teach and reach all learners. So despite that the level of our students have different level, some are above average, some are below average, so they are still learner. So you are still educator, you still have the task or no because of our noble passion or profession, we need to impart our knowledge in all of the level. That means the ability to differentiate learning so that all students are able to learn using their own unique style and or their ability and readiness level. All of our students have the different acceptance on the learnings. So some are advanced, some of them are late development. But of course, they also learn. So sooner or later, you will appreciate them that they learn from you. So despite that our students are weak, sometimes it's only a late bloomer. Another thing is of course be able to sorry for a while so I cannot read the slides for a while. Okay, so be able to foster a student relationship. Okay, an effective teacher will have the ability to facilitate interpersonal relationship with the classroom so that the students will have a sense of community and be able to communicate with their peers on the higher level than just a social media. As I mentioned a while ago, you are going to have a groupings of activities for your students. That is why they will prosper a harmonious relationship. They are building unity and they are also practicing camaraderie. So not on the social media, just into a face-to-face discussion. Next, be forward thinking. They are able to push their students to ensure that they will be able to navigate their way through things ever-changing technological world. They have the ability to prepare students for the unknown base or current trends of the trends and technology. So let's think forward. So the way that we think forward for our students are we are advanced. We are educator, so we teach our students to become advanced so that we can read ahead of time. So current affairs, news, community relationship, trends, issues, and concern are looking forward. Okay, so we will see the knowledge how they're going to participate in a certain country's issues. So their general information, so that is how the way that we're going to think forward for the better. Be able to embrace change. Yes, of course, change is the only permanent thing in this world. So we can then adapt ourselves into the change. If right now we are familiar with this technology or application, tomorrow, the next day, there are a lot of things that is different from the application. So we need to adapt. We need to participate in the changes. So day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, or the century, there is a change. So change is very is the only permanent thing in this world. The ability to embrace change is an essential characteristic of the 21st century teacher. Especially there's a lot of millennials. So the millennials and the Gen Z, they're adapting into the change of technology. They're embracing the change with the rapid changes in the technology and the way that students learn, educator must be able to embrace the change and adapt it. Always remember that. Teach our students to embrace the change and adapt the change. Do not left behind the change. We are moving forward. We are not looking back and we are not moving backward. We are living forward and forward and forward. So our world is more after for more on the digital. So there's new mindset that we need to develop. So develop our students, inculcate in their mind that change is the only permanent thing that happened in this world and adapt into changes so that they will be a better individual. Another thing that we need to put into practice for the 21st century practices is experiential learning. Of course, if you have not heard of experiential learning before, but I think all of us are familiar with experiential training. It is idea that learning is the product of experience. We can only gain experience from interacting and engaging with the world and people around us. For example, you are teaching tourism management on the collegiate level. So we cannot share our experience if we cannot really ride the plane, if we cannot travel internationally, if we cannot visit Europe or Asia, or if we cannot visit an island or do island hopping, we cannot share our experience. We cannot share to our experience how to do the do-it-yourself itineraries, how to do the costing if we're not into put into context. So always remember, experience is the best teacher. So me here in the Philippines, I am handling business subject. Aside from the business subject, I can also handle education subject. I can also teach public administration, especially in the voluntary sector management, because I am a community developer and I have units in public administration at the University of the Philippines. I also have my I also handled tourism and hospitality because I also have my master's academic requirements in hospitality and tourism. So I am a traveler, of course, so that I love teaching tourism. I can impart my knowledge and experience in terms of traveling, in terms of doing the itinerary with my tourism students. So at present, I traveled 58 provinces in the Philippines out of the 81 provinces. So I'm still want to become well known on that field, on the field of tourism. That is why I'm much more very participative in a lot of symposium and webinars in tourism and hospitality. But of course, I love education. Okay, I am also an educator. I also have my units in education and educational leadership. So that is why I encourage that teaching is always fun. Okay. Another thing that is very appropriate in our time is the game-based learning. Okay, so we can have an activity in terms of the game-based learning. So we had a lot of things how to teach. Okay, game-based learning, also known as gamification, is a great way to engage the students, particularly those in the primary and secondary education. So that is why, for example, on the elementary level, there is a matchstick. You ask them to play. They ask them to count by means of a game. Okay, they means also the match by match. You need to ask question. Then they will answer yes or no. So scoring different a lot of styles in terms of the gamification. So, but of course, here on the technology and in terms of gamification, we can use a quiz list. We can also use other tool in terms of the uh, kahot, so that students can be adapt. Okay, that is a trend and a new technology in terms of gamification because we are still on the online, still on the hybrid or blended learning. Ownership and engagement. So now, when students are interested and invested in the completion of the school-based project, they begin to own their educational process. So teach our students their educational process. With ownership, all aspects of their school career, including mastery of the curriculum, became important to them. So because they are the one going to develop, they are one going to engage, so they're one going to do the experimental, so that is why they own the things that we have learned. Personal responsibilities, strategies like critical thinking and generating hypotheses, and extension of learning becomes commonplace. When you discover something, of course, out of the research, out of feasibility study, out of the business plans, you are the one to own it and engage it, okay? Because you will appreciate the things that you have learned from it. So, citizenship, leadership, and personal responsibility. So, we teacher, we are also citizen of our own country. We are also the leader inside the classroom. And of course, we have also a personal responsibility, not only with ourselves, but also to our students. Development of good citizenship skills as part of the fabric of teaching and learning is critical to the long-term real-life success of our students. Be sure, we teachers, we impart our knowledge that is really factual. Do not impart our knowledge that is based on the hearsay, that is based on the gossip, that is based on the policies. Always fact. Because factual, learning is always factual. We are the one at the younger age, for example, of our students, we are the one who engage them to become or train them to develop them to become a good citizen and a good leader soon. So their life, of course, is on our hands. Okay? The youth, of course, is still the hope of the nations. The millennial, the Gen Z is still hope of the nations. But we develop our part as a member of the faculty. So be a model of citizenship. Be sure we teachers know what is right and right and right, not nor false and false and false. Be sure that we know what is only true and true and true. And we can only state what is fact, not policies, not gossip, not marites. Knowing mare, ano ang latest. So in the Philippines, there are a lot of marites. So mare, ano ang latest. So be true, develop our students, and of course, kindly guide them in their potential to become the leader of their generation, to become the good citizen of their republic or their country. That is our personal responsibility. We're not only teaching here, we are touching the lives of our students to become better soon. Okay? Community partnership. Having real world professionals and others in the community work with our students to help address real world problems, present powerful opportunities for students to get involved and engage as a citizen and a leader. So of course, as a young professionals, we will teaching them to see or what is really happening on the real world. So that is why we encourage them to become a good citizen of the republic and become a good leader. So to participate in a lot of community that is very viable for our society, that is very engageable, that is very participative. So for example, that is an outreach program, that is a immersion, that is a clean up drive, a lot of things. So Also, we need to participate. Leader by example. We develop our students leader by example. We, the leader, then we can see that we are doing it. We are keep calm. Okay, we are happy. We are motivated. We are thinking positivity. And of course, our student also grasps their thinking, their behaving, their feeling. The teachable moment. These teachable moments are powerful opportunities for effective, authentic teaching and learning to take place. Being able to identify and use real-time teachable moments is one of the those transcendent qualities of a good educator possess. So be sure that we teach on a time, on the regular time, not ask our students just only to read, present, and write and having a quiz. Be sure that you teach it accordingly, precisely, completely, okay? So in a well-mannered and very easily to understand. Do not give them a hard time to understand the concept or the theory. Just impart our knowledge that is very easily for them so that they will be your teaching will be appreciative. Okay, now let us deal about taking risks. So as educator, we are taking risks. In what method? Okay? There is such much to learn. How can you, as an educator, know all these things? So, we educator, life is a continuous learning. We have also a lot of things to learn. It is not exactly that we are professionals. We don't need to learn. As we age, girls, I am 37. I'm still taking up a lot of courses. So, and every day I still also browse books, read news, etc. You must take risks and sometimes surrender yourself to the student's knowledge. So be sure that you really park your knowledge. You can also listen to them because we can also learn from our students. Okay? In a classroom, it is not only the teacher who will learn. It is still the students and teacher or vice versa. Each of us, we can learn from one another. Have a vision of what you want and have a vision on what you want and what the technology can achieve. So technology is very vital, but of course, you know the ethics of using the technology. You see also the abusement of the technology. So also teach the students that technology is really good, but of course, be sure that we will do our part. Okay, set the vision on how to use the technology. At their young age, develop them. Teach them to become a good citizen, to become a good leader, and to become the one going to adapt in terms of changes and adapt into the terms of technology. Identify the goals and facilitate the learning. So we are the educators, so we are the one going to facilitate the learning. But of course, be sure that it is a active learning. Use the strength of the digital natives to understand and navigate news products, to have teach them each of them. Of course, it is very a good tool to know the technology, but do not abuse. And of course, the things that we are taking risks. Always remember, my dear educators and friends, trust your students. Trust our students that our students will become a professional someday, that our students will become a good citizen, become a good learner. So trust our students. Do not underestimate their capacities, their abilities. Just put their 100% trust on them. Because if you do our part 100%, they will also do their part 100%. That is only a give and take relationship. They learn from us, and of course, we will learn also from us sooner or later. Modeling behavior. There is an expectation that teachers will teach values. So, we must model the behaviors that we expect from our students. So, we are aware of that values begins at home, then develop into society, and of course, nourish and have a development in the school. But all of us, of course, as the students grow up, they need to adapt into the different environment. So we need also to remind them what is right and what is wrong. We also teach them how to discern what is true and what is false. So always guide them to become a better citizen and to become a leader of our society. Teachers are often the most consistent parts of the students. Most of the time, we are having contact with our students in preferably 8 hours. So 5 days a week or 7 days, 6 days a week. So it depends on the locality. It depends upon on the level of the students. But we consider ourselves as a father and mother image to our students. So that is why we call them son, daughter. So consider them as your son and daughter. We are the father and we are the mother. So embrace them as our own child. Teachers are often the most consistent part of the student's life, seeing them more often, for longer, and more reliably than even students' parents. So that is why we are the one going to guide them to become better. The 21st century educators also models tolerance, global awareness, and reflective practices. Whether it is the quiet personal inspection of their teaching and learning and through blogs, Twitter, and other medias, effective educators look forward, inwards and outwards. So we're not only after for our students' ability, we're also when we are also be the one going to guide them how to utilize, how to have a proper post in their social media. What are the things or picture that going to upload? So we need to one going to be teach them to become sensitive on their participation on the comment section, then on a sharing the policies or the untrue, just only share the facts. So we are the one going to guide them because most of the time we are together with our students. So feel the hug and embrace our students to become better leaders and citizens of our own country. So now let us deal about the essential rules of the 21st century learning. Instruction should be the student centered. So we are aware of that. So it is not a teacher centered, but our instruction is more on student centered. Okay? So we are aware how to construct a instruction for the student center. The days of lecturing students have passed through not entirely, while student-centered learning is strongly encouraged in the 21st century. This does not mean the teacher can never be give a lecture. We can do the lecture, but we will center our learning into student center. It means that the main source of knowledge in the classroom should not be owned by the teacher, but of course the students, because ahead of time we will task them to research and do the pair of work, the individual or the group activity. So the teacher will serve as a facilitator, but most of the time the teacher will guide the students in their learning. Education is no longer about listening to the teacher talk and absorbing the information. It is time of being a student centered. So give chance to our student to impart their knowledge and have a active participated with their classmates. So that is the 21st century learning. It is not more on talk active by the teacher, talk and talk and talk. So let's give a floor to our students to share their knowledge, to facilitate them. Then after that, share your knowledge, my dear educator. Education should be collaborative. Yes, collaborative. There is a collaboration between the students and the teacher. So collaboration is very dynamic. The teacher learn, the teacher will share the knowledge, and the student also. That is a give and take. So that is what we call collaboration. Learning should have context. Yes, that is very important. So despite that it's a student center, it does not mean the teacher gives up all control of the classroom. While students are encouraged to learn in a different way, we have different approaches. The teacher is still provide guidance as the skills that need to be acquired. Do not only, for example, good morning class, good afternoon class, okay reporters or facilitator do your task, then goodbye class, okay students, see you next day. So that is not the part. The student, it is also have a context. The teacher also impart their knowledge on the subject matter. Schools should be integrated with the society. So we need also to get the involvement to become a active participation of our students in community works in the society, to become active in the society, to participate in the competition, to participate in the clean up drive or whatever it is. So we need to involve our students and the schools on the undertaking of the society, because society is the smallest unit of our the of course, a family is the smallest unit of our society. So, and we considered our classroom as a family. So now it is also the time for our students to develop their leadership. Okay. So another. The five essential on the 21st century teaching learning. Teaching strategies to be able to teach all the students. We have a different strategies to implement. Be able to implement technology. We discussed that already. So be able to foster student relationship. Be moving forward. Be able to embrace the change because the change is the only permanent thing that will happen in this world. And we teach our students with adaptation of change. I will also give you a bonus, my dear listeners and viewers. There are top 6 most effective learning methods. We are aware of this one, the online learning. Not all of the people, not all of the schools and universities before are adapt into using online learning. Just because of the pandemic, we adapt into online learning. There are schools before implementing online learning, but now we are much we adapt more on the online learning, the online teaching using different platform, Zoom, Google Meet, IMS Word, etc. So it depends upon also some of us also have our learning management system or what we call the LMS. So we develop our learning management system. Before, when I was still enrolled at Baliwag University in the Philippines, under my master's in science in hospitality and tourism management, we are adapting the ULAP or uh, Baliwag University using the ULAP platform. So they are the one going to develop the ULAP platform as their learning management system. While in the University of the Philippines system in Diliman, Quezon City, of course, the whole University of the Philippines, we are using the OBLE. Okay, we are using the OBLE and we are using OBLE for our asynchronous and of course Zoom for our online class. Okay. Another, we discussed already, experiential learning. So that is based on our experience. So another thing that is may be new to your knowledge is differentiation. Differentiated learning is teaching method that tailors instruction to the students depending on their individual needs. So differentiation because our students have different knowledge, okay? So different levels. So we need to have use the differentiation on what will be the things that is very appropriate for them. This method could be great options if they are teaching mixed ability classes and want everyone to get the most of the lesson. So we have different approaches on how we're going to deliver it. So another is blended learning. Blended learning, we are aware of this one. Blended learning is a combination of traditional face-to-face learning and of course a technology-based learning. For example, limited face-to-face, then you are using online learning. You are using the platform. So that is a blended learning. So meaning 2 days blended learning, 3 days online learning. So that is a blended education. So in the Philippines right now, because most of the places are alert level 1, we are adapting blended learning. So another is the game-based learning, that is gamification. We discussed that already. So another student-centered learning, we discussed that already. So you may see my references here. So I also write my references. Okay. So thank you for listening and thank you for having me. I hope you learned something from my topic, the 21st century teaching practices. Thank you, IGP. I hope you can also invite me next time to talk about tourism, hospitality, and my other forte. Thank you, and of course, good morning to the Bangladesh, and of course, good afternoon here in the Philippines. It is very hot here in the Philippines. But always remember, we are educator, we have passion, and of course, implant in our mind that education is always fun and we adapt into the changes of our society. Okay? Thank you, and of course, God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you,
knowledge with
ma'am. Thank
our
you. Thank
lovely
you. I enjoy it,
participants.
ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Sir,
everyone. Thank you, the listeners. I enjoy it. Thank you for your comments. We
sir,
appreciate it.
we'll come back with you after our quiz competition session. So
All right,
stay
ma'am.
with us. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My dear lovely participants, thank you for staying connected with us. So please share this event more and more so let people know about this. And now we'll start our quiz competition session. So please join with us. We want more and more participants to have so much fun in this session. Hello everyone, welcome once again in our quiz competition session. So let me remind all of you to share this event with your in your timeline, and you can also mention and tag your friends in our comments. You can see the joining link in our comment box, and also you can go to www.slido.com and give the code that is flashed on screen. The code is quiz QUIZ, and you can also scan the QR code that is flashed on our screen. Today we'll give 10 certificates to our top 10 winners, and our quiz certificates and our webinar certificates, that is totally two different. Let me tell you more about it. You have to put your full name, that is you want to give in your certificate. So put your full name in the Slido. Let's see how many participants joined us. We have 18 participants right now. Now we have 20 participants, so please share this session more and more. Let people join with us, play this game, and let people know about today's topic, today's presentation. And okay, you can see our joining link in our comment box that is post, and you can also go to Slido, www.slido.com, or you can scan the QR code. Code is quiz, QUIZ. Please share more and more, because your sharing encourage us, your attachment encourage us to do better and give the best service. All of you. We have 27 participants. Let me tell the name. We have Pamela. Okay, now we have joined Caroline, Christina, Nifakunla, Kiefer, Rian, Barbarossa, Maria, then Karstein, Vicky, Karen, Daniel, Michael, Liesel, and rest of you. Please consider joining link in our comment box. So click it and join with us. Don't get upset. Go to our joining link that is comment in our comment box. Now we have 32 participants. Thanks for joining. I'm repeating once again. You can see the joining link in our comment box or go to Slido www.slido.com and the code is QUIZ quiz. You can also scan the QR code that is showing on our screen. We are going to start our show right now. Okay, our first question. Which of the following accompany our students on a journey of exploration and reflection? Is it social worker or teachers, oblique educators? Time is over. Let's see the correct answer. So the correct answer is teachers, oblique educators. 100% of our participants chosen the correct answer. Congratulations. Let's see a little more. We have Liesel on first position in our leaderboard. Let's go for our next question. Google Form is considered as efficient tools for both learners and educators in data collection method. Is it true or false? Choose your answer. Let's see the correct answer. So the correct answer is true. 91% of majority chose the correct answer. Okay, we have someone new that is Christina on first position in our category. Let's go for question number 3. It is a place where it becomes organized when rules and agreements are implemented between facilitators and learners. Is this guidance office or classroom? So the correct answer is classroom. 92% of majority chosen the correct answer. Congratulations. Let's see a little bit. Okay, we have once again Christina Vidal. Rosario on first position in our Vidal group. Congratulations. Let's go for our question number 4. Which of the following is not considered 21st century practices? Is this implementation of strategic planning or mentoring of other learners? Okay, the correct answer is implementation of strategic planning. 53% chosen the correct answer. Let's go to relevant. Okay, we have Alex Xavier Alvarez on first position in our leaderboard. Let's go for our question number 5. It is a venue where the students are invested and can interested in the completion of school-based project. Is this collaborative teaching or ownership and engagement? Let's see the correct answer. Okay, the correct answer is ownership and engagement. 32% chosen the correct answer. Okay, let's see the leaderboard. We have Alex Xavier once again on first position in our leaderboard. Let's go for our question number 6. Community partners are considered the heart of the project based in the 21st century teaching and learning. Is this true or false? So the correct answer is true. 84% of majority our participants choose the correct answer. Congratulations. Let's see our question number. Sorry, let's see our leaderboard. We have Evelyn P. Buttery on first position in our leaderboard. Want to see new person in our leaderboard, so everybody get ready for our question number 7. Which of the following is considered essential in 21st century students' skills? Is this communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking, or critical thinking, problem solving, empathy? So the correct answer is communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. 100% of our participants choose the correct answer. Congratulations to all of you. Okay, we have Alex on first position in our leader congratulations. Let's go for question number 8. Soft skills are essential for modern day life and workplace. Is this yes or no? So the correct answer is yes. 87% of majority of our participants choose the correct answer. What's your name? Okay, we have once again Alex on the first position in our meeting. Let's see our next question. What are the systems that involved in technology? Is this Google Meet or is it? So the correct answer is Google Meet, and 100% of our participants again chose the correct. Congratulations, all of you. Okay, we have Alex on first position, then we have Evelyn on second position, we have Geraldine on third position, we have Lizel on fourth position, and Christina on fifth position. Congratulations, all of you. Let's see our last question, question number 10. Game-based learning is a tool to engage students, particularly those primary and secondary education. Is this gamification or student-centered? So the correct answer is gamification. 79% of our participants choose the correct answer. Let's see who's going to placed on our top 10 winners. Okay, we have Alex Alvarez on first position, Evelyn P. Williams second position. We have Sherilyn Calizo on third position. Then we have Christina Vida Rosari on fourth position. We have Basil A. Gabalton on fifth position. Then we have Ryan on sixth position. We have Christina placed seven. We have Pamela placed eight. We have Mark placed nine, and Emily placed 10. So congratulations to all of our top 10 winners. My dear lovely participants, thanks for participating in this session and thanks for staying connected with us. Before going to our Q&A session, let me remind all of you, don't forget to share this webinar in your timeline and don't forget to mention and tag in your friends. Let people know about this webinar. So be ready for our next session. Welcome, Sir Mark, once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is our Q&A session, sir. Our participants ask their questions, topic, or comment box. My dear lovely participants, before picking your question, let me tell you, you get your quiz competition certificates in our Facebook page. So after the program, check our Facebook page and don't forget to like our page and subscribe our channel and don't forget to share this webinar. So please ask your question mentioning our speaker's name in comment box. And I would also like to thank our volunteer team who's working with IGP and helping our participants whatever they want to need anytime. Let me read some comments. Mary Juliet Della Joribasan, she said, thank you so much, my dear resource speaker, for sharing your brilliant ideas to all of us. We are still waiting for our question. My dear lovely participants, we are still waiting for your questions. So go to our comment box and ask a question to our honorable speaker and also mention our speaker's name. Okay, we have our first question from Mary Juliet Della. She asked, "My question will be if all the 21st century skills are being practiced by our teachers, in your opinion, what must be the reason why Philippine education got the lowest ranking in terms of proficiency of our students?"
So thank you, Ma'am Marie Juliet de la Torre Basan, for your question. Yes, here in the Philippines, we have what we call the K to 12 education. So, of course, all of the teachers, I believe, in the Philippines are put into practice the 21st century skills. But of course, be sure when we are put into practice the 21st century skills in our teaching, be sure that the students must also adapt on the 21st century skills. So I think there is a why we have still lowest ranking in terms of proficiency of our students. Maybe some of our students does not taking seriously about the examinations. They are aware of it. They are into it, but of course they're not focused. Or maybe there's also a lot of there is a only a limited time for the review or for the recap for or preparation for the proficiency examination. So, but I believe the students here in the Philippines and the educators are brilliant in terms of that preparation. And I think next time, in the terms of the proficiency of our students, we'll all be on the top. Okay, so let's also teach our students the value of what we call patience. So maybe the problem they're not getting into serious about that examination.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So we have our next question from Marvin Bolivar. Good afternoon to Sir Mark Anthony. We are in a modern age where technology plays pivotal role in achieving higher performance. How can this be utilized effectively so that it will serve its purpose? This is first question, and the second one is, at the same time, how can this be controlled so that it won't be abused, especially in teaching and learning?
So thank you for the question, Sir Marvin. So we are in the modern, yes, we are on the modern generation. So most of our students are on the millennials and Gen Z. So for a while. So we can also, of course, the technology is very powerful. The technology is very powerful. So of course, how can this be utilized effectively so that it will serve its purpose? So we are the educator. So we are teaching our the students. Of course, we are aware of that. How we're going to train our students to become actively and participatively and apply the ethics in terms of using the technology. So technology has a advantage and disadvantage in terms of the education. Not only in education, but of course in our daily lives. So be sure that we know, of course, the limitations and the boundaries of using the technology, especially in education. So the Google, the Yahoo, and other sites are very usable. So, but of course, the Facebook and the TikTok, of course, and it is not also very encouraging to use in terms of education. For example, even the messenger or the group chat. So let us try to put ethics on it. So I still remember I just only want to share to everyone that on the start of the height of the pandemic, we are using the Google Classroom. So of course, aside from the Google Classroom, most of our students are also run using their social media. Using their social media, so they are picture or they're going to screenshot their teacher while talking. Then the activity are also posted at the wall. So what I do as the dean of the studies or the head of the academic affairs, I formulate some rules and regulations or about social media ethics that they need to apply. So at present, I am proud. We are now going to 3 years online by next year. So still there it not lessen, it's also removed, so they are thinking that they are a punishment because they need to follow the ethics on the social media. So another thing, at the same time, how can this be controlled so that we won't be abused, especially in teaching and learning? So just put into context, just put your rules and regulations. So I'm also calling the one who innovates something, for example, other applications, just like what are the bad applications. So just put into the restrictions. So for example, if this is not for the educational purposes, students will not enter with that. So there's something to put into restriction so that all of the things that is adapt for the learning and teaching must be appreciable, must be appreciate of the students to use. Okay. So not all of the apps are very helpful. Some of apps will distract you, will destroy you. Okay, so nowadays we need to encourage our students to follow the social media ethics. Okay, that is to use the technology properly for their own needs. Okay, don't then and of course discourage them to engage in technology malpractices.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Okay, we have our next question from Karen. For Sir Mark Anthony, what will be your advice to those teachers who are not belong in 21st century?
What will be my advice to the teachers or the faculty members that belong to our century? So, this is our century and we love this 21st century. I encourage all of the faculty members or the educator, facilitators, and teacher to join us to enhance your skills, your knowledge, and develop your abilities. So, do not left behind. Do not left we are not encouraging that you will left behind because you are still part of our core. We're still educator. Be sure that you know everything rather than your students because you are the teacher. So do not just continue to learn, accept the technology, accept all of the practices. Do not use Manila paper nowadays. Do not use band paper as your visual aids. Use PowerPoint presentation. Use Google Form. Adapt into the 21st century skills so that everybody will be great in practicing and joining in this field of education.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next question. We have so many questions. Okay, this is from Innocent Gajang. Would you suggest a complete implementation of technology in learning or hybrid method?
So there are things that we can apply technology and learning. Okay, technology and learning meaning that is online class. That is through synchronous through the use of learning management system. So there are courses that also adapt into the use of learning. For example, um, not the skills courses. For example, communication arts can be done in through learning. So minor subject like without laboratory can be also done into technology in learning. Communication skills like purposive communication. But of course, all of the subject that is on the skills part, it must be on the hybrid method. But me personally, because here I am from the Philippines, since we know we are Filipino, I am more adapt on the hybrid method. So despite that there is a laboratory or no laboratory, I am more on the hybrid. hybrid methods. So it is more on the encouraging. We also want to see the reaction of our students inside the real classroom rather than the online class. I am afraid of the technology in learning that we'll use all the time, the online class, because we have a problem into not problem in the technology, but problem in the internet connection. Not all of our places can be reached a high internet connection. So it's also as encouraging for me to do the hybrid method. So that we can see the reaction of the basis of our students. Because the reason why I teach, because I want to see the reaction of my students why while I am teaching. So I am a marketing manager before, so engaged into teaching.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next question from Carol. Good afternoon, Paul. My question is this. The Philippines' current educational system now is using technology, which is online learning and modular. Do you think it is good for the students if the educators can monitor the students if they are cheating while doing activities and exams?
So do you think it is good for the students if the educator cannot monitor the students if they are cheating while doing the activities and exam? Ma'am, of course not. Of course, it is not educator must, of course, as I mentioned a while ago, because of our problem with the connections, we cannot monitor all the time the performances of our students, especially in doing the activities and exam. So I just only want to share something before I answer directly your question. So I am the Dean of the Studies of one of the private universities in Tarlac that is affiliated at the Philippine Women's University in Manila. So that's meaning we are on the satellite, the Philippine Universities in Tarlac. So as the Dean of the Studies, as the head of the academic affairs and the concurrent senior high school principals, we are offering senior high school, college, and technical vocational courses. What I do is, of course, since on the college level, so I also follow the senior high school grading system, but the percentage. But of course, I redevelop another tool that be sure that students more dwell more on doing the tasks. So for the quizzes, I lessen the percentage. For the term examination, we are using the Google Forms, but most likely the questionnaires are more on critical thinking. It is more on essay, case studies, problem solving, etc. So, but also lessen the points. And the biggest percentage that I put into our courses is what we call performance tasks. So, because performance task is a tantamount to in individual-based learning, that is in the outcomes-based education, we can see how a certain students do their tasks because it is an individual task. We will see how they do their research. We will see to them how they do their presentations because they are only the one working at home. But in here, because I don't want to encourage cheating, that is why I just only lessen the points on the quizzes and in the term examination. I put more, almost, for example, when a subject is more on skills, the performance task is 60%, while it is on the minor subject, the performance task is something 45%, something like that. So I see it is encourageable to the students to do their performance tasks. So that is one to gauge the knowledge. So it is much very, of course, especially online class, you can monitor if there is a cheating. If you will ask somebody to online their camera and use two camera in front and the back. But in doing the modular, I cannot see it can monitor the cheating method. So it depends upon on the school head or the teachers how they're going to innovate to become a good teacher in the times of the post-pandemic. Actually, we're now on the post-pandemic.
Thank you, sir. Our next question from Jean Paul Mercado. Good afternoon. As a 21st century teachers, do you think being strict like other teachers in the old generation do like giving punishment is suitable in today's generation?
Definitely, giving punishment to the students right now in our generation at the 21st century, especially we are handling the millennials and the Gen Z, is not applicable. So we don't need to give punishment to our students. As I mentioned a while ago, teaching is always fun. If the students can learn, for example, I am teaching tourism subject, students more adapt on using Instagram. So we will use Instagram, for example, in their activity. So we will create itineraries. They will show their pictures on the Instagram. So adapt on the level of our students. If they are more on using the TikTok, but TikTok is not a good aspect, but some of the teachers are using TikTok as their educational platform. So be sure that blogging and other thing, if what is the trend right now, if what will be the interest of our students, just follow. Do not punishment. Do not punish them. Just ask the students to pass, despite that it is not on time. Deduct them only. So when you're going to deduct them, they will ask, why you deduct, sir, why do you deduct me? Because you are late. It has a late submission, but do not put into zero. Encourage our students to become the modern heroes of their generation, to become the citizens of the republic and a good leader soon. So that's it. Do not punish them because punishment is not leading into a good and harmonious relationship. Students still have the right. Students still be have the right to answer or not yes or no. So just enjoy and always put into practice that teaching is always fun.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a question from below for Sir Mark. We know that we are in the digital age. What can you say about the credibility of information around social media that many people can use it, just like for the field of teaching?
So, what can you say about the credibility of information around the social media? So, just check it, just do a research whether it is factual or not factual. So, do not spread lies, do not just only spread facts. So, we also have a lot of references. We are aware of that. What are the references that we can use? So, kindly use only materials that is have a basis that is factual, that is stating a facts. So do not use things or materials that is not for the facts. But of course, social media information is just only a secondary. It will not be the primary source of our lecture. The primary source of our lecture must be on also on the textbooks and other research journal. So do not encourage yourself using social media announcement. Of course. So this word it is very easy to edit and to plagiarize. Just also put into context, we are inside the classroom and I am calling my co-Filipino teachers to be the leader, to leader of the truth. Just only impart to our students the truth and the reality because that must make our society better. Do not engage on the long fight, long discussion on the social media. So just say and spread good vibes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with our participants, and I think these all they get their desirable answer by your answer. Thank you so much, sir.
Ma'am.
Please say something for our audience.
Thank you to all of the listeners and participants, especially from the educator from the Philippines, and of course, educator from the Bangladesh, and I still also see here Georgia and different parts of the world. So I am from the Philippines, and you know what is really happening in the Philippines, my co-educator, just give it laban. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are very honored to have you here. Thank you. Have a good day, sir. My dear lovely audience, thank you for staying connected with us. Today, our topic is 21st century teaching best practices, and we have a lovely speaker from Philippines, Mark Anthony, sir. Thanks to our dear sir, and thanks to all of you. Let me tell about the certification process. Today our topic is 21st century teaching best practices, and the code is IGP 3454. Let me tell you again, the code is IGP 3454. It is IGP 3454. So without code, no one is eligible for certificates, and with code, you can claim your certificates anytime. All you need to do is to check our website address. Our website address is eduigp.com. So go to our website address, get your certificate, and don't forget to share with us. My dear lovely participants, thanks for watching program, and thanks to all of our audience who watching from all over the world, and thanks to our volunteer team, and thanks everyone for supporting, sharing, and gaining knowledge. So have a good day, stay healthy, stay happy wherever you are. Have a good day. Bye.